Hannah was looking longingly through the window. She was watching yellow leaves spin and then fall on the frozen ground. Similarly, her life has also come to its end, and her years, just like the leaves, fell to her feet. The woman pulled the wheels of her wheelchair and came closer to the window. Now she could see the whole yard and a part of the street. Hannah looked at the trail leading to the house and smiled. She saw her son, Andrew. He was talking to someone and pointing to the house. Hannah thought that he saw her and waved to him. Her eyes were weak, so she couldn't see who the other person was, but she would never confuse her son with anyone else. How could she? She felt him with her heart because she loved him more than life itself. It had always been that way. The boy became the meaning of her life from the day he was born. She gave him everything she had, and most of all, her love and care. Being an ordinary nurse, she wasn't rich, but she never complained. She just lived and believed that her Andy, that's how she called him, was as happy as she was. Time went on. Hannah managed to send him to a prestigious school, and then he successfully graduated from college. All that she'd dreamt for him came true. Now her Andy was well settled. He bought a nice flat and was about to get married. It was about time. He was already 34, and she was going to turn 80 soon. She lived her life, and now all that was left was to welcome her old age. Hannah believed that she'll age happily. How could she not? She still lived in her small house and got very happy when Andy visited, although he had a lot of work and didn't come and see her often. But she understood and never got angry with him. He was young and had his own life. But today, he remembered her birthday and decided to visit his elderly mom. Hannah looked at her son for a little longer and then went to the kitchen and started brewing while listening to Andrew's steps. But he was, for some reason, hesitating. Hannah looked at the door. She was confused and didn't pay attention to the hot cup of tea that was so close to the edge of the table. One awkward movement and Hannah's favorite cup fell down and broke into pieces, leaving the steamy brown tea on the floor. "Oh, you're so clumsy," she scolded herself. "Now there are only 4 out of 6 cups left." One of the cups was broken by Andrew when he was very little, but Hannah didn't get angry with him. He was a child and didn't do it on purpose. But she could have been more careful. Hannah was reaching for the brush and dustpan when her son appeared on the threshold. "Andy!" Hannah beamed. "Hi, darling. I'm so happy to see you." "Yeah, Mom, me too." He came close to her and then awkwardly pursed his lips against her cheek. "Nothing else you want to tell me?" She smiled. "What else?" Andrew was surprised, and then he saw a broken cup on the floor. "Oh, sure. I'll clean this up. But let's talk first." "Okay," Hannah nodded. For some reason, she thought that her son has prepared a surprise for her. Or maybe he'll ask her to move to come live with him. It would be so great. She lived far from downtown, whereas his flat was in one of the best parts of the city. She wouldn't bother anyone. She would live what was left of her life peacefully and happily. "I'm all ears, my kind boy," she encouragingly smiled at her son, because she could see that he didn't know where to begin. "Mom," Andrew nodded, "I don't want you to live here anymore." Hannah smiled even bigger, but suddenly her smile started fading as she heard her son's next words. "You'll live in a private nursing home. A very good one, that is. They have doctors and everything." "A nursing home?" Hannah whispered. "But why? I live alone here. I don't bother you in any way. I don't want to leave." "You don't understand. This district is going to be developed in the future, and these houses will cost a fortune. I've already found a customer. They pay well." "Maybe I can live at your place?" Hannah asked timidly. "Come on, Mom. I'm going to marry. Do you think Miranda will be happy to care for you? And we're also planning to have a baby. She'll be already stressed enough, even without you around.
So, I'll only cause trouble?
She was tearing up.
Then leave me here. Wait until I die, and then do whatever you want with the house. You'll inherit it anyway.
Mom, you're not listening to me. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. I'm selling my flat as well. I've saved up something. I'll take all the money and buy a cozy cottage where we'll live with Miranda. You know, so that our children have some space to play. Aren't you happy for us?
I'm very happy, but tell me, son, how come you won't have a place for me in your house? Even a small room. I wouldn't bother you.
Here we go again. Andrew got irritated. If you don't want me to be happy, you can just tell me. Hanna was silently staring at her son, who walked towards the door.
Wait, Andy,
she called him. He stopped and looked at her.
I agree to sell the house for you, son, and to live in a nursing home. But answer these 2 questions for me. Are you leaving?
Yes, Mom. I'm in a hurry. Thank you for agreeing. I never doubted you'd support me.
Okay, then the second question, Hanna sighed. Why did you forget what day today is?
What day is it today, Mom? Andrew frowned.
It's my birthday, she answered.
Oh, Mom, I'm sorry. Andrew smacked his forehead.
I'm so sorry. I got caught up in all this stuff.
Congratulations.
Thank you, son,
Hanna replied. Not long after that day, Andrew did all the paperwork and brought his mom to the nursing home. Don't worry, he told her before leaving. I'll visit.
Yes, son,
Hanna nodded.
But before you leave, I want to tell you a story. Do you have a minute?
Yes, Mom. Andrew sighed and sat down next to her.
Many years ago, I was married.
Well, yes, to my father, Andrew started, but Hanna put her hand on his shoulder.
Please don't interrupt. You're wrong. Jacob wasn't your father. I honestly had no idea who your father was. But I know who your mother is. Yes, son, don't look at me like that. I'm not your mother. Your mother is my younger sister. She lives in Arizona now. Lillian was never known to be virtuous, if you know what I mean. And when you were born, she left you on the beach near the delivery ward. Fortunately, they quickly found out that you were her son. But Lillian had already left without leaving any address. And then the doctors found me. They wanted my agreement so that they could give you to an orphanage. The boy was born preterm, they said. Moreover, he'll most likely be mentally handicapped. I didn't believe them and insisted that they give you to me. My husband left me after hearing about this. But I was sure that I'd made the right choice. You were my happiness, my son. I spent many sleepless nights looking after you. I took you to the doctors. I've come up with a whole program for your development. I invested in your development, even if it meant depriving myself of everything. You couldn't walk until you were 2, so I carried you. And I never considered myself a hero for this. I was successful. You became the best student in the school at the age of 13. It was around that time that your mother called me for the first time. I couldn't hide the fact that I was raising you from her. I thought she'd be happy. But she told me that she was happily married and had 3 kids, adding that she didn't want to hear anything about you. She refused to come and meet you. She screamed that her husband would leave her if she'd tell him. And she also warned me not to call her ever again.
No, this can't be true, Andrew shouted. He got chills from what he just heard. He was born preterm and mentally ill, but Hanna did all that she could for him to become not only normal, but the best. And she did it. And she's not even his mother. She's his aunt.
Mom,
Andrew looked up at her.
Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because I love you very much. I thought that it'll be easier for you to leave me here if you didn't know about this. Your conscience would be at peace.
Andrew fell to his knees in front of her and hugged her legs, hiding his face in her palms.
Mom,
My dear Mom, I'm so sorry. I'll never leave you here. Never. A year passed. Hanna lived in a big house together with her son and her daughter-in-law. She had a separate room and even a nurse who never left her side. She spent the evenings in the living room with her son and was truly happy. On her birthday, Andrew gave her a huge bouquet and said, "But the best gift you'll receive this year is Miranda's." "Yes," Miranda nodded. "Today I learned that we're going to have a baby. And it's a girl. We're going to call her Hanna after you." Hanna started crying and laughing at the same time. She was happy.